Most conversations about the world's wealthiest people circle around self-made billionaires like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, or controversial figures like Elon Musk and Donald Trump. But these conversations neglect money that has been passed down over generations through massive business dynasties. Much of the world's wealth is held by mega-rich skians who were born with billions of dollars at their disposal. From snack food tycoons to fashion moguls, today we're counting down the top 10 richest families in the world. Alan and Gerard Wertheimer may not be household names, but most people are familiar with the company they co-own, Chanel. The source of their fabulous wealth is their grandfather, Pierre Wertheimer. He was the first investor to back a then-unknown designer in Paris in the 1920s. Her name was Coco Chanel, and the rest is history. Their path to success started back in the late 1800s, when Ernest Wertheimer emigrated from Alsace to Paris and purchased the theatrical makeup company Bourjois, which developed the first dry rouge. Ernest's sons Pierre and Paul took over the family business in 1917. By 1920, the company was the largest and most successful cosmetic fragrance company in France. The brothers are notoriously reclusive, though they do have some elegant public habits like buying up vineyards and breeding racehorses. They have a combined net worth of $45.6 billion. Some accuse the Wertheimers, who have almost no creative input in Chanel, of using the company as their personal pocketbook. In fact, they paid themselves a $3.4 billion dividend last year alone. The brothers, who have run the luxury goods company for more than 30 years, took more than 4 times the company's net profit and double the dividend they received in 2015. This is another family with a very common product, who shies away from the spotlight. Ingvar Kamprad was a wealthy Swedish investor and entrepreneur with a number of commercial interests, but by far his most famous was his affordable furniture brand, IKEA. Kamprad began to develop a business as a young boy. He started selling matches at the age of 5. When he was 7, he began traveling further afield on his bicycle to sell to neighbors. He found he could buy matches in bulk very cheaply from Stockholm, sell them individually at a low price, and still make a good profit. From matches, he expanded to selling fish, Christmas tree decorations, seeds, and later ballpoint pens and pencils. When Kamprad was 17, his father gave him a cash reward for succeeding in his studies. He opened his first furniture store in 1947 and built it into one of the world's most successful retailers, with fiscal 2017 revenues of nearly $46 billion. Kamprad relentlessly pursued efficiency to keep his furniture prices low and showed little interest in the trappings of wealth, at one point driving a Volvo for 2 decades. When Kamprad passed away in 2018, he left behind a $58 billion fortune with no direct recipient. Further complicating the matter is that most of it was transferred to a tax haven in Liechtenstein decades earlier. Because of this discrepancy, Kamprad fell from the 11th wealthiest man on Earth to the 162nd wealthiest man. The details are still foggy, but most believe his money was eventually passed down to his 3 sons, who now have a combined net worth of $48.9 billion. The Dumas family is the 8th wealthiest family in the world, with a combined $49.2 billion net worth. Again, their name may not ring any bells, but you're probably familiar with their brand, Hermes. Thierry Hermes started the family business in 1837. Long before the famous scarves and Birkin bags, Hermes was a harness maker who provided gear for the houses of royals throughout Europe. His grandson, Émile Maurice, modernized the family business. He brought in his friends Louis Renault and Ettore Bugatti to make trunks for cars. Émile Maurice also diversified the company into furniture, belts, and couture. But it is Jean-Louis Dumas, a descendant of Thierry Hermes, that is credited with turning Hermes into a global giant in luxury fashion. Unlike many business dynasties, wherein the founding family only holds a financial interest, Hermes is still actively managed by Axel Dumas. He is the 6th generation to have a managerial role in the company. Usually it stops at the 3rd generation, Dumas said during a visit to Hong Kong, referring to the 3-generation curse about family fortunes. It could be that we are 2 times 3. Dumas is the great-great-great-grandson of the company founder, Thierry Hermes. Staying hands-on in the business has been a hallmark of the Hermes family. Dumas' mother was head of production and his uncle was CEO. He recalls being a kid at the dinner table and being a part of family discussions about day-to-day operations of the company. It seems as though Hermes will be in the Dumas family for generations to come. Karl Albrecht and his brother Theo were the founders and owners of the popular German discount store Aldi. According to Forbes, Theo is one of the wealthiest men in the world, with an estimated net worth of $22.6 billion. He is the richest person in Germany and fourth wealthiest in all of Europe. His combined net worth with his brother was $51 billion. Albrecht was born on 20th February 1920 in Essen, Germany. His father was a miner and his mother owned a small grocery store in a suburb of Essen. The billionaire earned his fortune with his entrepreneurial skills and talent. His brother Theo worked alongside him while he transformed his mother's small grocery store, which was situated in a corner, into what it is today. The first Aldi store was launched in 1961. Today there are over 4,000 Aldi outlets in Germany alone and more than 8,000 in France, Australia, Greece, Portugal, Great Britain, Spain, Switzerland, US and Poland. Aldi sells all kinds of products, like skincare regimens, household items and produce. The ownership of the store was split between the two brothers, with Karl getting the more lucrative outlets of southern Germany and Theo being responsible for the northern outlets and the rest of the stores in Europe. Karl was lucky to get the rights of the brand in the United Kingdom, United States and Australia. Theo died in 2010 and Karl died in 2014. Their passing sparked a family feud over who would benefit from their unbelievable fortune. Though certain litigation is still in process, most of their wealth went to Theo's eldest son, Theo Jr. Imagine if the grocery store, the cell phone provider, and biggest national construction conglomerate were all owned by the same company. No matter where you shop, you're still supporting the same business. That's essentially the situation in Mexico, where one of the world's richest people, Carlos Slim Helú, resides. The 78-year-old has a net worth of $59.2 billion, and from 2010 to 2013, he was the richest man in the world. He is not only the richest man in Mexico, but in all of South America. His conglomerate includes education, healthcare, industrial manufacturing, transportation, real estate, media, energy, hospitality, entertainment, high technology, retail, sports, and financial services. He accounts for 40% of the listings on the Mexican Stock Exchange, while his net worth is equivalent to about 6% of Mexico's gross domestic product. Needless to say, even though most of his business is done behind the scenes, Slim is a major player in the world economy. He was born in 1940 to a Mexican father and a Lebanese mother. From a young age, Slim was interested in both finance and engineering. He received a degree in mechanical engineering in 1961. Slim has stated that his mathematical ability and his background of linear programming was a key factor in helping him gain an edge in the business world, especially when reading financial statements. Several of Slim's children are involved with the business, guaranteeing that they will benefit from the fortune for generations to come. Bernard Arnault is another French fashion baron who likes to work behind the scenes. His products are sported by celebrities and ultra-wealthy clientele all over the world. The luxury group he oversees, LVMH, is the parent company of brands like Louis Vuitton, Moet & Chandon, and Hennessy Cognac. Arnault controls about half of LVMH, which had revenues of 42.6 billion euros in 2017, making him the richest man in France. In addition to LVMH, Arnault oversees further investment and holding vehicles. Group Arnault has invested in Netflix and Blue Capital, and also took a major stake in French food chain Carrefour. In addition, he has invested in Boo.com and a variety of other online ventures, as well as buying Princess yachts outright. Arnault began his career working for his father's manufacturing company. 5 years into working for the company, Arnault convinced his father to liquidate the construction division and enter the real estate market. Under the name Ferinel, the new company initially developed specialty holiday accommodations. Named a director of the company in 1974, he became chief executive in 1977. In 1979, he succeeded his father as president of the company. Over the next 11 years, LVMH's value multiplied 15 times over, and sales and profit increased fivefold. Arnault's current net worth is $64.8 billion. Like Carlos Slim, he is determined to keep his family involved in the business, and his sons and daughters serve in the financial department as well as on the board of trustees. Here is a well-known family that made their fortune from the eponymous Mars bars. Franklin C. Mars was the founder of the food company Mars Incorporated that mostly manufactures chocolate candy. As a child, he suffered from a mild case of polio, during which time he learned to hand-dip chocolate candy from his mother. At the young age of 19, he began to sell molasses chips. The family has expanded their brand over the generations. They now include such items as Uncle Ben's Rice, Snickers, Hubba Bubba, Juicy Fruit, M&M's, Milky Way, and Skittles. Though Mars bars are far from their bestseller, it gave them the capital they needed to create an empire of sweet treats. Forbes estimates the Mars family's net worth at $70 billion. That includes Jacqueline, John, and Forrest Mars Jr., owners of the largest candy company in the world. Mars was founded in 1911 by their grandfather Frank Mars. Though the brand has struggled to maintain its market share as healthy snacks become more popular, it still remains a titan in the food industry. Chances are you're familiar with the Koch brothers for their political influence and public personas. However, despite the Koch brothers' fame as political influencers, their primary activities are centered around running Koch Industries Incorporated, of which they own 84%. This is a private company that has revenues topping $100 billion. However, it is not really a single company, but a conglomerate of other companies the brothers own. On June 5, 2018, David Koch retired from all roles related to the Koch Industries and Koch-affiliated group due to health reasons. The industries under the Koch umbrella are diverse, ranging from companies that deal with energy to spandex. Koch companies manufacture paper, process minerals, create fertilizers, and refine oil. Because most of their companies are not publicly known, it is easier for the Koch brothers to hide in the shadows. If names like Guardian Industries, Invista, and Molex don't ring any bells, it's because they merchant in glass, mechanics, and chemicals, respectively. These are businesses that supply our smartphones, clothing, and even the Mars rover, but rarely receive any recognition. With thousands of brands under their control, the Koch family has a combined net worth of over $120 billion. They continue to be one of the most influential companies on the globe. The Waltons are the second richest family in the world, collectively worth around $160 billion. That's because they founded the planet's largest company by revenue, Walmart. Walmart is worth over $500 billion according to Fortune Global 500 list in 2018, as well as the largest private employer in the world with 2.3 million employees. Founder Sam Walton's heirs own over 50% of Walmart through their holding company Walton Enterprises and through their individual holdings. Walmart was the largest US grocery retailer in 2019, and 65% of Walmart's $510.329 billion sales came from US operations. In all, the Walton family has about $174 billion in assets, depending on how Walmart stock is faring. For instance, Walmart had its best quarter in a decade at the end of 2018, and the collective net worth of the Waltons went up by $11 billion. The family's interests are extremely far-reaching. For example, Ann Walton Kroenke, a niece of Bud Walton, owns almost every professional sports team in Colorado, in addition to the Los Angeles Rams and Arsenal Football Club. In recent years, Walmart has been adapting to match online competitors, namely Amazon, meaning that it will stay relevant and profitable for years to come. The Rothschild family is one of the most powerful dynasties in human history. They are the subject of numerous conspiracy theories, and many believe they control the world from the shadows using puppet governments. Their story begins with Meyer Amschel Rothschild, who was born on February 23, 1744 in Frankfurt am Main, Germany. Starting out in a Frankfurt banking house, Meyer and his sons became international bankers, establishing branches in London, Paris, Vienna, and Naples by the 1820s. In addition to banking and finance, the Rothschild businesses have encompassed mining, energy, real estate, and winemaking. From the early 19th century, the family has been known for its considerable charitable activities, particularly in the arts and education. Starting as dealers in luxury items and traders in coins and commercial papers, Meyer and his 5 sons eventually became bankers to whom the French Revolutionary and Napoleonic Wars of 1792 to 1815 came as a piece of great fortune. They profited from the war by funding many different players and cashing in as an arms dealer. Fast forward 200 years. The Rothschilds are still the biggest banking family in the world, with a combined net worth of over $400 billion. According to some sources, there are only 3 central banks in the world in which the Rothschilds don't have a major stake. They are North Korea, Iran, and Cuba. And the Rothschilds have diversified outside of banking as well. They have major investments in military engineering, agriculture, and real estate. Because of their continued dominance, they are accused by many conspiracy theorists of determining world events. Many of these conspiracy theories are anti-Semitic in nature, as the Rothschilds were one of the first major families to advocate for a Zionist state in the early 1900s. Though the internet is full of conflicting opinions, one thing is certain: the Rothschild family has maintained its riches over generations, making it the wealthiest in the world.